Head back out to the Toyota of Hollywood hotline. Shop over 2,000 Toyotas on sale. One location, Toyota of Hollywood on 440 Wilmington, Hollywood, and Sheridan, ToyotaofHollywood.com, where we are joined by our good friend Larry Blustein. Blue, how you doing? It's good to have you back here on a technically a football Friday here, a schedule release Friday. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing good. Busy. Went to Palm Beach last night. Been basically everywhere. Doing a lot of back and forth trips, Orlando, Tampa, Fort Myers, just to see some of the kids. It's spring football. It's kind of a weird spring football because they some of the schools up in the northern and part of Florida, they start early, so their spring started early, and they ended actually this week. And Dayton Broward and Palm Beach kind of like going till late next week. So it's got run into a lot of college coaches from all over. It's really a good time of year. You get a chance to see a lot of talent. And today I'll be back up in Palm Beach, and this weekend a couple of other games. And then next week, basically everybody either plays a game or has an inter-squad scrimmage. And I know Omar's happy. His Carroll City Chiefs are the talk of South Florida this spring.
Absolutely, Blue. I've been waiting a long time for this conversation. We are loading up my Chiefs. Toro Wallace. I'm not very familiar with him, but he's coming from Chaminade, where he's produced a lot of great talent. We've got Lee Prince Jr. We've got Nick Leary, Lanier, the University of Miami recruit. Tell me what I can expect. Is it possible to build a program like an NIL program where it's 1 year, you just get everybody in and you develop chemistry?
Well, if it is, they're doing it. So you mentioned some really, really good people, and not only that, Omar, it's they're tapping into Carroll City Chief royalty. You talk about Lee Prince and Freezy and the whole gang. They're all in. Lee's committed to West Virginia. Good little running back, does real well. We know Nick Lanier is expected to do big things. Remember, Nick is leaving a Northwestern team last year where he had some help. He had outstanding receiver who ended up going to Syracuse, and then he had another one at FAU. So this year he's going to kind of be, he's going to be the show, and we'll see. They're playing a scrimmage next Wednesday by themselves. They're not going to. I don't think they want to tip their hat, to what they have. It's like St. Thomas. They don't play a game in the spring. But they're going to be one of the teams to watch. They're definitely, they're a smaller school now. I know it's hard to hear that, but they're a 2A school. So it's, but that means they're in with Chaminade, where Coach came from and won 3 straight state titles, as a offensive coordinator, and they're in with Cardinal Newman, who's a defending state champion who upset Chaminade last year, and some other pretty good teams. But it's shaping up not only for Carroll City, but as I get a chance to look at some of the other programs, we know, what St. Thomas has done, guys, over the last 7 years is unreal. Winning 7 straight state titles. I mean, that's just total domination, and obviously West Boca Raton, because we have a lot of people who listen to us, and the kid Mallory, who went to Miami and had a really good spring, in his freshman year. He came out of there. But West Boca, suburb school, which is something that you don't see a lot of state championships, especially in South Florida, because it's, as well as I do, it's either inner city driven or it's a private school driven. But it's been a good spring, and we had an opportunity to see a lot of the kids that Miami's going to be getting, and it's just been a productive spring. Thank goodness. The weather, as my fingers are crossed, has been real good, because this is a time of year you usually have a lot of rain.
Blue, I want to go around the state if we can, because I know you've been traveling and you've been everywhere. You've been talking to coaches. Let's start down south here in Coral Gables and the University of Miami. We know that Mario is parlaying the success of the national championship appearance here into just more recruiting riches. But what can you tell us about how things are going from a recruiting standpoint at the U?
Well, you know what? When you win and when you have people from around the country, you become a global recruiting center, and that's what's happening with Miami. You know, you look at for their class of 2027 and the kid Dante Wright that they just got, a cornerback that they flipped, as they say, from Georgia. He's a Long Beach Poly kid. Israel Abrams, who's a quarterback, is out of Illinois. And then obviously you have Nick Lanier and you have Jalen Jones from MacArthur and Sean Tatum, a big offensive lineman, from John Carroll. They've done well. But, and you know, Omar, when you covered them, the big bitch, as they say, is, Miami doesn't do well recruiting South Florida. But, yeah, you know what? You can't have everybody. And even when they dominated, they didn't get Marvin Jones. They didn't get Derek Thomas. They didn't get Isaac Cruz. You know, it just happens. You know, it's, you get who you get, but I think they've kind of tipped in nationally to get some of the top talent. And they're right now, you go around and they're the talk. Everybody talks about Miami, which is a far cry from a couple of years ago when nobody talked much about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Blue, I don't want to ignore the other schools in our backyard here, FIU and FAU. Obviously both playing Division I ball, Blue. So what's are those schools essentially, like right now, are they trying to find guys out of the portal that they can bring in for a year? Are they still going the high school route and trying to develop some players who will probably end up leaving regardless? Like how are those schools approaching recruiting?
Combination of both, Danny, because of the fact that you look at FIU and Willie Simmons, great coach, great person, and what he's done is tapped into local coaches. All his coaches, Brian Pata and coaches like that. The Coach Pata, Coach Ponce, who was at Miami. So they've kind of done a lot of local recruiting plus, as you mentioned, tapping into the portal, because obviously the portal is where it's at. You get a lot of experienced kids to come back. But, no, he's done well. FAU, you know what? He's really good. He's done a great job in the short time he's been there. He's actually tapping into his Texas roots. And I went to see both of those teams in spring this year, their spring games at Texas Tech, influence with him. He coached Pat Mahomes a little bit when he was at Texas Tech. So he's got some great ties from Texas, got great receiving core, but he's also not leaving South Florida alone. He's kind of, utilizing that as well. I think both of those programs are on the upswing. FAU is in a different conference than they are now, but they both have that same objective.
All right, Blue, let's head up to I-4. And we got a couple of programs out there. You got UCF, who was a little quiet, I guess, last year. Do they have they retooled? What do we got going on in Orlando?
Yeah, they're kind of right now a little bit stagnant. They were doing construction last year, so they didn't have a lot of summer camps, which meant they didn't get a lot of kids on campus. But Coach Frost has done a good job. He's still trying to shake the trees locally, but the big thing that they have is they're a Power 4 school, and they get to go out and say, hey, you know what, we have, we play, Colorado, we play Kansas State, we play Arizona State, paid by BYU, and so they have a good recruiting tool. They're in Orlando, which is not a bad place, and I think that this is a big year for them though, because they have to at least make a bowl game. They can't have another 4 or 5 win season.
All right, across I-4, I know you're friends with Brian Hartline, Blue. I think a lot of people down here certainly like him. I've spent a lot of time with the Dolphins and a little time at Ohio State developing 50 different first-round wide receivers. But he is in Tampa now. What can we expect from that program at USF?
Yeah, Brian brings a lot of good pedigree with him. He's a great recruiter. He's a good teacher of wide receivers, as we know, at Ohio State. I think he's in a situation where, they've got everything positive going. They just, a couple of years ago, as you know, they opened up their new indoor. Next year, they're going to introduce their new football-only facility, which is going to be real nice. And then at the end of 27, they get their stadium on campus, which is a huge plus for them. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a model out of like Baylor and Houston, maybe 36, 37,000, nothing, a million. But as you know, being a graduate, I mean, there are 58,000 students that go to that school. So it's a big school, but at the same time, it's kind of a commuter school. So it's the kids from dominate from, maybe an hour away that go to, on campus. But he's come in with the right philosophy. He's got a great coaching staff, and we're going to be going out to one of their summer camps coming up in a couple of weeks, and tell a lot more about them. But yeah, they've done a really, really good job at what they could do. They still need to get into that conference. They need to get in with UCF, where they're in Power 4, so they play a big time schedule. But at the same time, they can recruit at that level.
All right, Blue. Let's head up to Gainesville. What are we talking about up there?
Probably the most impressive spring. Coach Sumner's done a great job. He's rallied everybody around. He's got the money people in order where they're spending money on the recruits, and which is something that they didn't do in the last regime. They have a really, really good young team, secondary wise, probably within the year or so, they could be one of the best in the SEC. He's done a really, really good job at recruiting. I can't say he hasn't. And, they're definitely on the upswing. If they could grab off 8 wins this year and set the table for the following year, they're in the SEC. I'm not going to skirt that. That's not an easy deal. And, every week is tough.
All right. And last and certainly least, the Florida State Seminoles, Blue. Mike Norvell is back. What do we got going on over there?
Yeah, still fighting an uphill climb.
Oh,
they
yeah.
haven't recruited very well, and their portal, has been not great. So this year's a big test for everybody. I mean, if they have to rebound. I mean, they have to make the play. I mean, make the get a bowl game. I've said playoffs. They would be ecstatic with the playoff, but yeah, they're in the ACC. We see them every year, and certainly they're getting better. But are they at the level that Miami and Florida at? No, not yet, not right now. And hopefully they can return for a lot of the FSU fans who believe that those colors every year. But he's sticking in there. He's got some really good coaches. He hired, Tim Harris Jr. now is his right-hand man. He's OC, he's worked, so at least he's got a recruiting pipeline to South Florida, which you need. Well, you need that so much.
Yeah, nobody has trouble picking transfer portal quarterbacks like the Seminoles.
Yeah,
they always pick the wrong guy. Pretty impressive.
So well that his last transfer quarterback, portal quarterback, is a wide receiver at Miami with the Dolphins now. So yeah, done well. He's done well.
All right, Blue. Thank you so much for the time. It's great to hear from you. I know you have your show here on WQAM. If you missed any of Blue's interviews through the last few months or so, I know, Blue, you had Heartline on this week. That's up on WQAM.com. So please make sure to go check out all of Larry Blustein's interviews on our website. And Blue, we look forward to talking to you more throughout the summer. All right.
Yep, I'll be there. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you, Omar. We'll see how your Chiefs do on Wednesday. I'll let you know.
All right, Blue, thank you for the time. Larry Blustein here with us on WQAM. Again, check out all of Blue's interviews. He gets the best stuff right here on WQAM.com. Is where all of his interviews live. All right, we will take a pause. The 8 o'clock hour is coming up. We're going to talk to Anthony Chang from the Miami Herald, talk some Heat and NBA with him. And the schedule is out. The Dolphins' schedule is out. We'll get some initial thoughts on that from Omar Kelly as well when we continue on here on QAM.